This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
Good morning. This is Scott Wells for the magicwordpodcast.com. And here we are, not too early, actually a little bit later than usual, as we get ready to depart on my flying carpet. That is Southwest Airlines here at Houston Hobby Airport. This is the beginning of kind of a long-winded trip, and I mean winded because the wind will be at my back as we travel, heading first of all to Chicago, where I rent a car, and then we'll be driving over to Abbott's get-together for this week's 84th annual get-together. Should be a lot of fun. I'm going to be traveling with Trixie Bond and her husband, Mark Axford, and then once we get there, renting the car and meet up with Harriet Jacobson. So the four of us will head over, have a great week. Going to be playing a little bit of golf tomorrow with Al Leone at the Open Colon, or Colon Open, or whatever it's called, golf tournament. And it should be a lot of fun then. After that convention is over on Saturday night, take a little rest, and then drive back to Midway, where I will then drop off the car, take a flight direct from Midway to Las Vegas with a 2-hour differential in time. That will be to my benefit, so that's why I'll be there in time for registration and early enough for the festivities to begin with the first evening party and the dealer's fair open, etc. So then it's going to be a week of Magic Live, and then hang around Vegas for a little bit after that. So just a lot of stuff going to be happening, and so you're going to be hearing a lot of my voice as we kind of get into the convention over with the daily reports that will be posted from day to day. So be sure to tune in and tell your other friends, and also please share this as you can. But one of the things I like to do, of course, is to welcome friends of the Magic Word, and this week's episode, actually, for the next couple of weeks, is going to be brought to you by the Friends of the Magic Word. Those are the ones who provide us with some financial donations and pledges, and want to welcome the newest members that I don't think I have announced yet. I've posted their names then in the pod letter, but one is Martin Harry Cohen, Wolfgang Wallet, John Gustafsson, or John G. Magic, how about that? And John Midgley, who is the first national president coming in for the Society of American Magicians. Is coming in behind John Sturck. So thank you, John, Wolfgang, and Martin. I appreciate all of you guys joining and becoming friends of the Magic Word, and also for your donations and pledges. It means a whole lot and helps me keep this going, because as you can tell, is what I'm saying, I really am going. There are a lot of places yet to be seen after we depart here. Well, some bad news along the way is that apparently Dunkin' Donuts here in Hobby Airport is going under renovation. So that means there are no Dunkin' Donuts for me this morning, but go by Starbucks, and I got a bagel this morning, bagel and cream cheese, and along with just a skinny vanilla latte grande. So let's taste that here. Yep, that is some good coffee. I need some coffee. Actually, it's not straight coffee. It's not an espresso or a lot of caffeine, since it's kind of a latte, and it is a latte, actually, with milk and everything in it, too. Anywho, we're going to be winging our way over, and as we do, Trixie and I will be sitting next to each other because we're working on an article about Bill Palmer, which will be in the souvenir program coming up for the Texas Association of Magicians, which will be coming up over Labor Day weekend. I want to remind everybody about that. That will be just an epic convention. And again, Bill Palmer will be the guest of honor, which is why we're writing this article. We've both written articles. Now we're going to see if we can combine the two with some of the things we've got. So I am looking forward to presenting these reports over the next few days, and hope you enjoy listening to them. And please like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, that's what you should do. So for the Magic Word Podcast, this is Scotty out. We have arrived in Colon, Michigan, and actually we're over in St. Joe Country Club right now because the first event that always takes place, it's kind of a pre-event. There are several pre-events actually, but the first one in the morning of is over St. Joe Golf Course Country Club that Al Leone sponsors the Colon Open. But speaking of sponsors and people who are involved with Colon, a name and a voice you've heard in the past, someone I got with me right now, Mr. Carl Thornton. Hey there, Carl.
Hi, how are you doing, Scott?
Fantastic. And so I know there have been some changes since we were here last year. As I recall, last year, Dwayne Laughlin was just leaving, and he had left his theater, and you ended up buying that. Is that right? Or you owned that before, leasing it? Or?
I owned it before, and then Dwayne initially wanted one of the. There's 3 sections. He wanted one, then he took 2, built a great theater, and sadly they left. I mean, he had some grandkids. I get it. I wish he was here. He was him and Mary as well. Dynamos. They're great for town.
They're great for them because they did shows, and people came from all over Michigan and around, I imagine, to see their shows.
Just kind, hardest working guy you're ever going to see. Amazing, and she's right there with him. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. So they've tried to retain the Sunday night event that he did. It was kind of gospel, not really, just a good message, and I think they're getting there. It's just tough, but hopefully that works, and we'll see where it goes.
And so, what's happening to the theater, and what are you doing with it now?
So those 2 sections that he had, that is basically what they're doing, and then Kurt had done a couple of shows, and Precious is what you might know is they sing on maybe not every Sunday, but maybe 3 out of the three out of the month. Yeah. And then the other side we've rented for. We just had a graduation the other day. We've done a gender reveal. We did a birthday party. So I'd like to see more of that as a kind of an event center in town, for maybe smaller, 40 people, 100 people. We could fit, 120 people if you use all 3 sections. Yeah.
What is the size of Colon?
Of Colon proper, I would say in town 1,100. But then when you have the lake, probably swells to 2,800 on a weekend with basically. Not all Chicago, but a lot of Chicago people come in.
That's what I was going to ask of people mainly from Chicago who come over for this, or tourists.
Yeah, probably every other house. Yeah, man, maybe 3 out of 4 houses on that lake are
just summer homes, or not even summer homes, or weekend homes kind of thing.
Correct,
yeah.
correct.
Because it's only about 2 or 3 hours over from Chicago. So.
Yeah, you're about 3 hours max, I would say. Maybe terrible traffic, might be more.
Yeah.
There's one guy that drives from Kenosha. I can't believe it. It's like 4 hours every week. It's crazy. But most people are 2 to 3 hours away.
Right. So, what else is happening around Colon? Because I know that you're very involved. Or you're not the mayor yet, I guess.
No, been there, done that. That's we have a great council now. A lot of people got on the council. It's really good. A lot more rabbits are popping up. Have you seen those painted rabbits?
I have not yet. I haven't really. I've got to town late.
Check them out. I mean, they've been. We kind of started that 5 or 6 years ago.
So what are they doing? What do you mean, painting rabbits?
I picked up some cement rabbits and I painted one, and then I painted I paint like a 3rd grader, and it's horrible. If you see the one outside the pizzeria, compare that to the other ones. The other ones are amazing. The library just did one. It's unbelievable. Yeah, so there's probably, I'm not going to exaggerate, I would say maybe 30. Jerry Costello did his own. Yeah. If you go to Jerry's house, check it out. Him and Julie. Yeah. It's amazing.
Well, it's kind of like what I know different cities have done things like in Houston. We had the cows, and artists would, in schools and whatnot, would paint these things, and they were on the street corners.
Yep. So we got those all over, the businesses and some private owners. And then the stars. I don't know if we added too many stars in the last couple of years.
I think Harriet Jacobson added one for her husband.
I think that may be the last one that got added, if I'm correct. And, Fair and Hall is a place about 2 miles out. Do some pretty high-end dinners, so that's kind of been a nice addition to town.
What's it called?
Called Fair and Hall.
Okay.
A couple gentlemen from Chicago did that. So, we got to try to fill these empty buildings. Every small town has it. I think we're getting there, slowly.
And you now have still 3 magic shops in town?
So there's Abbott's in Sterlini. And Sterlini's, their theater is... Well, you've been there. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, John's got a great place.
Yeah. And John, not to step on, well, in addition to Magic Week, you might know this, but he has David McCurry Friday night, so probably 10 o'clock. That guy, that's one of the top 5 comedy magicians that I've seen. Top 3, maybe, in Colon. He is hilarious.
John?
No, John's not funny.
Go on record right now.
Let's get John. John always goes, that's why I don't do comedy. No, David McCurry, if you haven't seen him, it's $15. It's Friday night, whenever Abbott's is over, 10:30. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, Michael Finney, he's up there with those guys. He's that funny.
Okay.
I thought.
And so I was thinking, that's the reason they called this the Magic Capital originally, because Blackstone lived here, and then, of course, with Abbott's, and then it continued to grow, and they had the convention. This is the 84th year of this, and we'll talk with Greg Bordner about that at a later time over here. But Did you immigrate over here from Chicago, or where were you?
No, I'm from 2 hours north, but we had pizzerias, and I started actually about an hour south in Kendallville, like 37 years ago.
Okay.
I was a 23-year-old punk with a buddy of mine. Love the guy, hate the guy. Love the guy, hate the guy. So we had different, we're buddies now. He was just up here a couple weeks ago. And we had several. He started this one, actually, and then I bought it from him. And
We're talking about 5-star pizza, by the way.
Yeah, sorry about that. I bought that one from Danny right about probably 98. My boy Blade was about 5 when we bought that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and that's just been... So we have a few around here. It's not our busiest store. It's a busy store, but it's the most fun by a mile. I mean, Colon is the best place I've ever lived.
It's a different place, different vibe here for sure.
Yeah, no traffic.
Yeah, no traffic, flashing lights, stoplights, only thing.
Amish buggy might get in your way. Yeah. That's it.
They still have the Amish Uber?
I haven't seen Tim in a while, probably. I have not seen him. Yeah, that's a hoot.
That's kind of a fun thing. Well, listen, Carl, always good to see you. Thank you very much again for being a friend of the Magic Word. Thank you for your financial pledge and everything that you've done to help us grow. You too.
You're welcome. So. Thank you. Pleasure.
And always good talking to you. For the Magic Word Podcast, that was Carl Thornton. Scotty out. Well, as I mentioned when we were talking right there with Carl, that we were at the Colon Open, or Open Colon, and I am here then now with the fella who is in charge of that and has been for the last several years, and that's Mr. Al the Only. Hey, Al.
Hey, what's going on, Scotto?
Well, we are actually at a different place than right now because the day has kind of flown by, and because you got very busy, as did I. Did you owe me some money? Did I win anything, by the way, today or not?
No, I'm sorry you didn't.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, I think you owe me $5.
Okay, well, never mind. I'm sorry I asked. But we are now over at David Seebach's party in the theater that Carl Thornton owns that used to be the Dwayne Laughlin Theater over here in downtown
Before that,
Colon.
It was a hardware store.
That's right. Boy, how times change.
Yes, they have.
And so, anyhow, Al, how many years have you been doing the Open?
This is the 34th annual. It averages right around 16 golfers. Today we had 22. We had exceptional weather.
Oh, my gosh, exceptional weather. And apparently due to the rain, that the greens, the fairways, everything was in the best shape I have ever seen it.
Yeah, it's a small course, about 20 minutes outside of Colon, west of Colon. And we've played there every year except once. It was raining so bad, but in the county next, it was bright sunshine, so we moved it that year. But other than the years we've been rained out and COVIDed out, we've been at St. Joe Valley Golf Course.
And you've always been the person in charge. What made you start this way back when?
I showed up in Colon with a set of golf clubs.
By
myself.
Yeah, okay.
And Jeff Bibick and Tommy Rosso were interested in these new magic wands in this bag.
How come Bibick wasn't with us today, by the way?
He had things going on in Chicago. He's here now, though.
I just saw him.
Yeah.
Hope to talk to him in a minute. Yeah.
So they somehow convinced me that we should have a golf outing.
Yeah.
That sounded like a great idea. Who's going to do it? And they both looked at me.
Said, Al, you're the guy.
So Ab Dixon is the one who gave the name to the outing.
Yeah.
Because everybody has the Something Open, the PGA Open. Since we're in Colon, he thought it would be appropriate to call it the Colon Open.
Right.
The official title is the Colon Open No Frills Golf Classic.
Because?
Because there are no raffles, there are no drawings. The only thing you pay for is to golf.
Yeah.
If you want to eat, you pay for that. If you want to drink, you pay for that. There's absolutely no frills. But it is a great time with a group of people that come into the get-together early and like to go and play a quick 18 holes.
And when you say you have to pay for your food, now you pick up, or I guess we pay for it, we get hot dog and chips and drink.
Yeah. It's minimal compared to what most outings have.
But we don't have to pay a lot. And,
no.
I mean, this is a public course, and it's a small place, so they don't charge a lot for green fees. If you guys ever come early, please, if you play golf, or even, you don't have to be a good golfer. I mean, Marion, Barry, what's his Marion Barry? What's the guy who was like the comedian? He's won several times. Mary. His last name's Mary.
But see that David Mary.
David Mary.
David Mary was awesome. The Chuck King won for the second time in a row. Chuck is a hypnotist out of the Lansing area.
He was my cart partner today. He won?
He won.
Oh, wow. I should have...
He beat his son by one stroke.
Yes, he did. And his son was darn good. He kind of surprised me.
Chaz is awesome.
Yeah.
And so we have folks, I think his actual score was an 80.
Yeah.
And the person who enjoyed the course the most had a 136. So we have everybody in between, but we use the Callaway handicapping system.
So anybody could possibly win.
It's a one-day handicapping system. With the handicapping system, it brought Chuck's score down to 72.
Oh my gosh.
And Chaz hit a 73. Chaz is Chuck's son.
Yeah.
And the person who shot a 136, I think it brought him, I can't, because I don't want anybody to know. That wouldn't be nice.
Yeah.
It brought that person's score down to, I think, a 92. So it really
compresses them.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of puts everybody on an even playing field. So.
Exactly. Not only that, but it's no frills. It's a friendly competition.
It is. We got donuts and coffee in the morning,
exactly.
And it's nice and cool in the morning. And apparently they've had a little bit of rain over the last few weeks, and so that's cooled things off. The corn is nice and high. Got a good stand out there.
Yeah,
and,
perfect place to shoot your golf ball into.
That's right. This has just been awesome, and you do a great job every year.
Thank you.
Well, I'm looking forward to later. Then, of course, on Thursday you're going to be doing what?
On Thursday at 3:45 in the afternoon, I will be ushering a tour of the Magician's grave sites at Lakeside Cemetery.
And that got started because of Carol Fox, was it?
Carol Fox originally started taking people out after Duke Stern died.
Yeah.
Duke Stern died in 1973. And on Friday nights, Carol, Jay Marshall, Ab Dixon, and their merry crew would go out to the cemetery, sit around Duke's grave, and tell Dookie stories.
Yeah.
And every year they would grab a couple of kids to join them so that these stories could go on in perpetuity. And I was one of those kids many times over. Then there was a TV crew in town, and they wanted to go out to the cemetery. Well, Jeff Bibick and I just happened to be standing at the right place at the right time and said, "Hey, guys, come on, we're going to the cemetery." So Carol gave us a little private tour.
Yeah.
After Carol passed away, Hank Morehouse called me up and asked me, or he told me, he said, "You know that time that Carol took you on this tour? He was actually passing the mantle. It's now your responsibility to keep the stories alive."
Right.
And I accepted the honor, and I've been doing the tour now for 14 years.
And putting together the book, the Graveyard
The
book.
book was an outcome of the tour. And the way that came about is, even though I was at the cemetery with all the old-timers and listening to these stories, now that I had to repeat them, I was missing details.
Yeah.
So I started doing research, and before I knew it, I had a pamphlet, and that pamphlet has now a 500-page book with photographs and stories.
And after a certain period of time, after a few people have passed and added to the cemetery, then you will add some more chapters.
Right. I'm 6 chapters behind now, by the way.
Okay. Well, I hope that you publish that before I get buried there, because
one day I have to sit and interview you so that I can make sure you have the proper story.
Yeah. Well, I've already sent something in.
I know, I have it.
Okay, but you got to get the rest of that. That's right. I should send you a copy. I showed you what
I have it. It's in my
stone
files.
looks like. Okay.
It's in my files.
Al, you do a great job. I thank you. I love you, brother. Yeah,
I love
like
you
a
too.
brother. I mean, you're amazing.
It's a lot of years.
You have changed my life in so many ways that I cannot share with everybody. It has been great. So thank you and Lori for being what you are to the magic community.
Thank you, Scott.
The Magic Word Podcast. That was Al, the only Scotty Al. Well, as we were just talking with Al the Only, I told you we are actually in the midst of a party here with David Seebach, and we usually speak with him each year at about this time because that's when he always hosts it, on Tuesday night. And it's a different location. First of all, hello, David.
Hello, Scott. Glad that you're here. I'm glad that we are all here.
Indeed, yes. Yeah. It seems like a little bit larger gathering each year after COVID, you know?
Well, I don't know that we ever...
You've had this many?
Well, it's hard to tell because we're a little more spread out than we were at our other location. It was more compact, but certainly not a disappointing turnout.
No, we've had a good turnout over here. A lot of people that I have not yet seen had a chance to say hello to, and old friends that I haven't seen in a long time, like Jania Taylor, and so many. There's Richard Hughes, and I just saw Lance Burton a while ago over there, and some other folks that are just kind of in and out, and Jeff Bibick and folks, and so it's people are coming and going. Looks like throughout the evening, and so it's a successful party as usual. Yes. Now we're having it here in this theater as opposed to your place because you're staying in a different place, I guess, this year. Is that right? Or?
Yes, we had to vacate our normal digs and found another location, but like many things that are through Airbnb or whatever, they say no parties, no unregistered guests. So we knew we couldn't have a social event there, even though we are the least likely people to do anything wrong.
And you always clean the
benign.
place better than you left it.
That's what we're famous for.
Yeah.
We leave it so clean that everyone would say, we want you back. But who knows?
But it's a new place, and so they don't know you as well.
Right.
So it's a good place, a good location. They've got a little bit of a theater, place to sit up the bar, and everything over here then, too. So what are you looking forward to as far as this year's 84th convention? Are you on the bill this year? Or?
No, I was on last year,
right?
And I've lost count of how many times I've been on the bill. I'm sure that the people that come here have probably said, we've seen enough of him,
Remember, Rick Walker used to be kind of a perennial favorite years ago, too.
Well, like Blackstone, of course.
Yeah. You and Blackstone probably have about an equal amount of number of times you've been here.
Maybe.
So what are you looking forward to? Who are you looking forward to seeing or talking to or seeing their show this year?
Scott, the thing I look most forward to every year is this.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the party.
Yeah.
I mean the socialization. I mean the seeing of old friends.
Sure.
We arrived here Sunday, and Sunday night, Al the Only, Jania, Dr. Costello, people were coming over to the house, and we were just sitting and talking. And this is the friendliest Magic get-together convention gathering.
Yeah.
And I think this like family reunion atmosphere may not exist at the larger conventions that occur in a bigger city,
right?
A major metropolis. This is Colon, Michigan.
Yeah.
There's no hotel. There's no more. You can't evade anybody, right?
Population is very small.
And so, while that might be seen as many people as a negative or a limiting factor, it is also an extreme positive. And I don't know about you, but my first time coming to an event here was 1967. And that was the unique year when, because of a health condition by Riesel Bordner, who owned Abbott's at that time, they canceled the get-together. But apparently the regular people said, we're coming anyway. And so they said, well, we could have an open house. There were no shows.
Yeah.
There was nothing scheduled. Everybody showed up.
They kind of pitched in?
It was just, demonstrations and impromptu stuff and the American Legion card tricks and so on.
Yeah.
And so I've been coming here since then. I can't say I've been here every year, but I've been here more than not.
Yeah.
I've performed more times here than I rightly deserve to, but I wouldn't miss it.
Well, I think you put your finger right there on the pulse by saying, that it is really about the people and the camaraderie, and that there's nothing more family or familial than at another convention there is at this one. I'm attending 12 different conventions this year. Each of them have their own unique reasons why I want to attend. This is very unique and something I would never want to miss after I've come to my first one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have surmised that if for any reason that there was not an Abbott's Magic get-together in an official capacity, I think many of these people would still be here this first weekend in August. They would just come here
and say, "We're going
to be here."
Yeah, okay. Something's got to happen.
There may not be lectures. There may not be lots of dealers. There may not be performances in the high school of Broadway caliber or whatever. But that's not why we come.
Yeah,
we come for the same reason you and I come.
When I was playing golf this morning, that my cart partner asked me that same thing of what are you looking forward to, and I answered him exactly, almost word for word, what you said.
That's it.
That's really what it is.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
We can see other performers at other conventions,
right?
Yes. And that's a bonus, I think.
And very often at some of those conventions, you see an awe-inspiring performer on stage, and you just your jaws dropped. You can't explain what you've seen. It's so impressive. But you don't see them elsewhere. But here, there could be the same caliber of performer, And then you see them walking on State Street,
Right.
going
T-shirt,
over to the diner,
Yeah.
one of two,
Yeah.
and you could go right up and say, hey, I liked you last night, and next thing you know, you're sitting down and having...
At the Legion and
you're
having a beer with them.
a BLT or a beer, right.
Yeah.
And that's what sets it apart.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it. That's exactly right. And this is unique because of that, and it really humanizes the celebrity, if you will, and puts everybody kind of on a same kind of a level that we can all really
And so if a performer came here, if a performer was sort of a...
diva.
Right. I was going to say high and mighty, but the same... Well, I don't associate with the hoi polloi.
Right.
Yeah, that ain't going to work here.
No.
You are going to associate with everybody.
That's right. Move on down the road.
Right.
Yeah, you got to know what you're coming in store for. So you're right. This is a fun time. Well, again, it's always good to see you, and
always good to talk to you.
Are you doing your Halloween parties?
Absolutely.
So what are you doing this year?
Well,
where it will be?
We have two locations. We have a suburban Milwaukee area theater. It's called Sunset Playhouse. It's unique. It's one of the only, if not the only, theater in America that is considered a community theater, and yet it's completely owned. It is not part of a high school or a public performing arts center or something. So we're there one weekend, and then the next weekend we're at Tristan Christ's Magic Theater in Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
He's a very successful magician down there, like Rick Wilcox is in the Dells. And I had offered to help him do something for Halloween several years ago, and he said, I have a better idea. Just come down here and do it yourself.
Yeah.
So we take the show that we put together for Sunset Playhouse one weekend, and we take it to his theater.
So which one's actually on Halloween?
None of them, because you don't want to be on Halloween.
Oh, that's a good point.
No, you don't, because there are too many house parties and tavern or bar costume parties and so on. So from our perspective, from a theater perspective, you don't want to be on Halloween. You want to be early.
So if somebody wants to get your tickets to see your show, where can they go?
Sunset Playhouse, all one word, .com, or Tristan Christ Magic Theater, Lake Geneva, or if all else fails, David at David Seebach, one word.com. And Seebach is spelled with an H, not a K.
Seebach. Let me just say, from my perspective, it is worth every penny and more if you double the price. And I don't know what you're charging for it now, but that was one of the best shows. And it was, if you remember the old spook shows or have heard about these old spook shows, it's very much like that. The first half is more illusions. The second half is a spook show for the family with flying ghosts. And I mean, it is an amazing show.
Right. Well, I remember you coming to see us at our first home, the Majeska Theater in Milwaukee, which is pretty much completely shut down, which is a very sad situation. But we're still going at it, doing what we can, adapting to the venue that we're in.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we're having a lot of fun. Good to talk with you, David. Thanks again for hosting this again this year.
Thanks for coming to our party, Scott. It's always good to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's over the Magic Word Podcast. So that was David Seebach. Scotty out. Well, we are still at David Seebach's party, but we are in actually a theater, and we're going to learn more about that and kind of what's going on here with Kirk. Hey, Kirk.
Hi there.
And also then with Cindy.
Carol.
I keep saying the wrong.
You
I gotta
can call
see.
me Cindy. That's fine.
And John and Precious.
Don't call me Cindy. Yeah. She ain't gonna come at you live.
So, I want to talk a little bit about this theater, and you guys are kind of working with this throughout this weekend in particular. Kirk, what were you saying to begin with about the theater that this was the Dwayne Laughlin? Actually, it's called the Grand Magic Theater.
Yes, about 3 years ago, Dwayne Laughlin created this theater that he called the Grand Magic Theater in an old hardware space here in Colon, the magic capital of the world. And he put on a magic show for several years here until he and his wife Mary decided to retire, and they moved to Branson, Missouri last year. And he kind of left it in our hands to continue because we're all part of a gospel music Sunday night that we do here in the theater.
All four of you?
Yes, we're all involved.
You have a name that you sing as?
Or? Well, it's funny. It used to be, first of all, we didn't have a name at all. It was just kind of Dwayne's band. We supported him as he was the singer.
Well, it could be the Carol Singers featuring Carol.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
But then we became the Grand Magic Band because it was the Grand Magic Theater, so we were kind of the house band here. But just in the last 6 months or so, we came up with our own name, and we wanted to kind of tie it to the Magic Capital, and we thought what better way than to honor the name Blackstone, who brought magic to Colon to begin with. So we kind of went with that, as well as kind of a country-based theme where bands will incorporate maybe landmarks or something like that in their name. We just went with Blackstone Creek, and that's who we are now.
Blackstone Creek.
Yes.
Sounds like a kind of a bluegrass band.
Well, it is. In a way, yeah.
Yeah, Precious?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of what we were going for. We were trying to incorporate everything that is Colon. And, that's after several votes and several...
So it's Blackstone with the capital B and a capital S.
Yes.
So technically it's Blackstone Creek, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Because we're clever. Because we're clever like that.
You all play instruments or just sing a cappella or what? John?
Precious sings, Carol sings, Kurt plays the drums like a maniac. He's fantastic.
So what do you play, the bongos?
I just get up there and MC a little bit, tell a few jokes during the program.
He tells the
Everybody
dad
gets Shango ties.
Everybody gets Shango ties, and I tell a positive...
We are going to get him some bongos, though. That's for sure. He needs the bongos, yes.
I can do it. Bongos,
I
bass,
just
and
sold
Bob.
some bongos.
Did you really?
Yeah.
The timing, Kurt, the timing is off. Bongos, bass, and Bob, Penn and Teller, remember that?
I do. Yes.
They were both in that, or Penn was anyway. Bongos, bass, I got that CD.
The what?
I have that CD.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all through this weekend, what's going to be, I say week until it's going to be going through Saturday night, what's happening during the daytime? Over here, Carol.
Very exciting things. Community effort, really. We're going to have a bake sale. People in the community are baking. We're going to have hot dogs and beverages and popcorn. And so people can come in here. It's kind of like a hospitality
Open house.
store. Yeah, so they could come in, get cooled off by the air conditioning, fellowship with each other, relax, and connect. And it'll just be a wonderful time. So.
And location-wise, this is just right on the main drag over here. It's right across the street from Sterlini's shop and over by the VFW on the other side over here. And it's got American Legion, sorry. And then also you're still selling magic stuff, I guess?
There are a few items that we have in the showcases. Tomorrow, on Wednesday specifically, and probably through the rest of the week, we're going to have a few larger illusions on display in here, just if people come in, just have the magic theme going on. One of the assistants that came up in Dwayne's show is going to be here to take pictures. I mean, just a lot of fun things tied in with the magic theme. And throughout the year, we try to incorporate some magic as well as the music. We're aiming for like a variety show entertainment, throughout the course of the year. We did a Christmas show last holiday season, and we want to keep the music and the magic alive here in the theater that Dwayne started.
So this is really the first time you're trying this kind of a thing as far as keeping it open. I guess not 24/7 necessarily, but I mean probably pretty late hours.
Yeah, folks can rent this. We've had Precious's grandmother was 100 years old, so they had a birthday party here. People are renting it out for various things, perfect for reunions. I'd like to see a magical wedding someday here. That would be great. But it's such a blessing to be able to carry on the tradition of Mary and Dwayne. Now, clearly we're starting from scratch again, but I can feel their spirit everywhere in this theater, and I just appreciate them so much. So everything we do, I think we do with love and keeping them in mind.
That's great, because they are, I started to say were, but when they were here, they were great, but they're great. I haven't seen them since they've been moved to Branson, but quite a couple have done a lot for magic in so many different ways.
Still obviously lives on with the building and with what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. So come on out to Colon, folks. Run out to Grand Magic Theater and have a party.
They should, because this is going to be a nice hospitality thing. You kind of come and enjoy yourself. And will people be invited to kind of do some impromptu magic if they want to on the stage or whatever? Or?
Sure. If there's the opportunity, we've got the stage, and if someone's here and there's an audience, we'll have them perform.
Yeah.
Good photo opportunity for the performers to come in and get
That's
some
a good point.
pictures. Yeah.
That's right.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do with bringing some of the magic in here. We know a lot of magicians are in town, so we just wanted them to come in if they want to get a photo with the trick, with the illusion, have their friends pose. It's a good photo op, just like John said. So
There are photo op all over town, seems like.
Exactly, yeah. So again, it's just a great place to...
The village oozes magic. There's just nothing but magic in this town. 85 years. Think about that, Scott. 85 years. This is the 85th get-together.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could have guessed 84. I didn't know it was 85.
85.
It's been fantastic. I've enjoyed every one of them.
See, did you hear that? Fantastic.
I heard him. Yes.
She makes fun of me when I say fantastic. You said it the same way.
He
Fantastic.
puts a pause in it, Scott.
When people ask me how you're doing, fantastic.
Fantastic. That's what Zig Ziglar used to say. How am I doing?
There we go,
fantastic. And they would tell him, you can't always be fantastic every day, can you, Zig? He says, no, I'm not. But he says, then you're lying to people. He says, no, I'm telling the truth in advance because I'm going to be fantastic at some point in time.
What a philosophy. I live by that as well. And you guys should live as you will really live to your fullest potential if you get to come over here to the Grand Magic Theater during this week. And if you're listening to this and you're in the Chicago area or anywhere nearby, drive on over to Colon. You're going to enjoy this convention. I know they have day passes available as well, but you should probably enjoy it for the rest of the time because the convention is running through the 5th. And it goes all the way Saturday night. Great shows, 4 nights of shows and all kinds of activities throughout the day, not the least of which, of course, happens right here at the Grand Magic Theater. Thank you guys very much. Thanks, Precious, John, Carol.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirk. Appreciate you guys. So for the Magic Word Podcast, Scotty out. We are here at the beginning of day one, actually. The last few conversations we've had have been kind of the lead up to what is now becoming the 85th annual Abbott's Magic Get-Together. And one of the people I always like to speak to as we kick these things off, because we're rooming together in a friend's home. There are no hotels or anything around here. You have to stay in people's homes. That's another one of the wonderful things about this, that you really get to spend a lot of quality time getting to know the local people, quite literally, by staying in their homes and everything. But anyhow, one of the people we've spoken with in the past, and his voice you might recognize, and if you don't, you should get to know him. One of the best guys in Magic and one of the hardest working guys in also, because he's the guy behind the scenes for the last 30-plus years. Please welcome Mark Holstein. Hey, Mark.
Morning, Scott. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And I say that because he's been the stage manager. How many years? 30 or something?
Well, I've been on the stage crew for almost 40 years. I inherited the role from Bill Smetak, who inherited it from Dorney. Mm-hmm. But, when he stepped down, then I took it over. And, yeah, I've been doing it for well over 30 years.
And is it just by default, or
no one else was dumb enough to take it? Yeah,
I'm just kidding, because you do a fantastic job. Because everything seems to be running, tight as a ship. You have a very good crew, and they've been with you for a long time too.
They have, yeah. I think the newest member of the crew has been with me for about 15 years. Most of them, I used to be able to say all of them were magicians. That's not true anymore. But most of them are magicians. They all care beyond a reasonable level, making sure that everything goes smoothly. We certainly can't pay them enough for this level of dedication. They do it because they love it, and every year they just deliver amazing results, and then I get to take a little bit of credit for it.
And they always have it in the high school gymnasium?
They have for as long as I've been coming to Get Together. I've been coming since 1978 and haven't missed one, and it's always been at the Colon High School. I know there have been 1 or 2 years where it went out of town. They went to Coldwater one year, I think. And then before, when it started 85 years ago, it was at what we call the factory, but the Abbott's building downtown. It was smaller then. And then over the years it grew. They did it under a tent for a couple of years. And then ultimately the Colon High School became the permanent home.
In your memory and in your personal history, what has been the most unique thing? I mean, I remember years ago, of course, they didn't have air conditioning in there, but have there been some times in which it's like, oh, this is going to be difficult to get through, but we're going to slog through it anyhow?
Well, I mean, anybody that's been to the Colon High School knows that it's a gymnasium. And there's a stage at one end with one curtain. And so, every year is a challenge because it's not a fully equipped theater. We bring in the lights and the sound. We hang most of the curtains other than the main curtain in the front. And, there's no fly loft. If, an act needs to fly something, we have to figure that out. But, we're up for the challenge because the goal is to make every act look its best, and whatever it takes to do that, we'll do it.
And then on the gymnasium floor, is it you guys who put down the tarp and everything, or does the high school do that?
No, the high school and then the local Lions Club provides a lot of support for the get-together. So they come in the weekend before. I think the school puts down the tarp to protect the basketball court, and then the Lions Club comes in and sets up all the chairs.
I think one of the cool things is, because of your longevity, you have really worked with probably every major act in the world, including, of course, Harry Blackstone Jr. on a number of occasions.
Yes, he was a great friend, and the friendship started here in Colon. And you're right, one of the privileges of this role is, just about every important magician the last couple of generations has been on our stage. And a lot of lifelong friendships started, spending the afternoon with them rehearsing and getting to know them as people. And I really try to maintain those friendships. So it's, absolutely.
So I go back again. Is there some particular event or performer or something that has stuck out that has been not necessarily a bad situation, but maybe a good situation, or maybe a serendipitous thing that had happened that kind of comes to mind?
Well, there's so many. It's hard to pick, but a couple. I remember the first time that Jeff McBride came here, and at that time, we've improved our lighting somewhat, but our lighting system was pretty impoverished at that point. And I remember Jeff had something like 90 light cues.
Holy cow.
And I remember two things. One, we pulled it off. We delivered all of his cues. But more importantly, I remember the extended standing ovation that he got at the end of his performance. It was absolutely moving that the place was rocking like that. But so many stories. I can remember Brett Daniels doing the water torture cell here and us wondering whether the stage would support the weight of the water. Thankfully it did. I remember we had an illusionist from Canada, Ed Fernandez, and he was doing an act based on diamonds, and he had these two big props that needed to fly. Yeah. And we don't have the facilities to do that. So we literally rigged up the rigging through pulleys, and then we had Ab Dixon, who was quite a large gentleman, and a guy named Wayne Burchell from Detroit, who's a large guy, and we built a stirrup for them to stand in. They were at the top of a ladder, and when it was time to fly these two props, they jumped off the ladder and flew the props up into the air with the weight.
Funny.
And so for the rest of Wayne's time, he's passed away now, his name tag here at Abbott's was the Great Ballast.
The Great Ballast. That's great. Now, the AV equipment, I know the stage curtains and lighting belong to the high school. I assume the AV is?
No, actually, the only curtain that belongs to the high school is the grand, the red curtain that you see in front. Everything else belongs to Abbott's, and we're going to be hanging them in about an hour. Okay. And the sound comes in. My sound guy's Brian LaBeouf. He was David Seebach's stage manager for many years, and he owns a really first-class sound system. So he brings that in and sets that up. And then the lighting and a lot of the other stuff, wireless mics and stuff, we rent from a company nearby.
And that's what Artie Kidwell handles that too?
Artie actually is, for the first time in many years, isn't going to be here.
Well, somebody asked me, said, be sure and tell him hello. And so
he won't be here. But for years, he was my lighting guy. Yeah. And so now it's Tim Simnek who runs the light board.
Okay. Well, I know also that you have some people like this evening show, I think, is going to be Japanese. Are there language issues whenever you have some international acts?
So the Japanese show's tomorrow.
Okay.
Tonight we have the rock and roll show with Steve Chesaday and Michael Trix,
cool.
Richard Hughes, and then Jeffrey Jean from Milwaukee. Should be a great show, a lot of fun. But tomorrow is Japanese show, and no, I take that back. It's Friday. And there can be language issues. I find, though, that acts, particularly from Asia, have really great cue sheets. They're used to working internationally. They're used to working in places where people don't speak their language, and they come prepared. And so it's never been an issue. We find a way to communicate. They know a little English. I know no Japanese, but they'll have great cue sheets, and we'll laugh a lot and have fun, and we'll figure it out.
I was just talking with David Seebach last night about the importance of everybody being here, being friends, and the camaraderie is amazing, and this is not a place for divas. And I imagine that you've had your share from time to time, some people who have been rather difficult to work with, but for the most part, I'm sure everybody's been nice to work with.
I agree. I mean, you're right. There, over the almost 40 years I've been doing this, I could probably count the divas on one hand.
Yeah.
For the most part, people come here to have a good time.
Very flexible.
Very flexible. They understand they're not walking into a Broadway theater. Right?
To a gymnasium.
It's a gymnasium. Look, I remember probably 30 years ago, Harry Jr. brought the Broadway show here with a 6-piece orchestra, and all. It was amazing. But that stage is not really equipped for a full Broadway show. So everybody just pitched in. We figured it out. And what I remember was he did the cannon and the trunks here.
Wow.
And we were hanging the trunks, and they weren't high enough for Harry's taste. Well, we can't move the ceiling. And so his stage manager, Steve Zimmer, was standing in the house with me and Harry, and Harry's like, oh, this doesn't look good, and it's not right. And Steve said, Harry, there's an effing basketball hoop hanging in front of the stage. Get over it. And we all laughed and moved on.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to tonight's shows and also the next few nights. And
great shows. We've got to give a shout out to my good friend Mike Miller, who's the producer of the convention, and somehow he pulls rabbits out of the hat every year and gets talent we can't afford. International talent. And look, I mean, Lance Burton, Matt King, Mike Caveney, come on. No other convention can afford this talent.
Yeah.
And, every year he delivers $100,000 worth of talent on a much smaller budget than that. So we've got 4 really great shows coming up, and we're excited, and, we'll do our best to make everybody look great. And I think it's going to be amazing.
For those of you who are listening and you're over in Chicago and thinking about, I don't know if I'm going to come again this year, I would say, get in the car, come on over. It's just a couple-hour drive. Come over.
100%. And, it's such a beautiful village. The weather here.
Oh my gosh.
So, Scott, as a fellow Texan, in Driftwood, where I live, it's going to be 106, 107 every day this week. And right now, the temperature outside is about 60 degrees. It's going to be about a high of 80. So even if for no other reason than just to enjoy this beautiful community, come on over, and we'll promise you 4 great shows. And then on Saturday, Lance is going to show one of his specials and provide color commentary as the video is running. That's going to be just a hoot. And I think we can count on some hecklers in the audience like Matt King and others, which will just make it all great fun.
That makes this very unique, and you need to come and attend, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Mark, as always, I don't know how you put these things together because they look flawless, and they remain in people's memories for, as you said, generations. They were just really great shows.
That's what we aim for. I think sometimes people come here thinking that because it's a rustic environment, it's going to be a rustic stage crew.
Not at all.
We may be rustic, but...
you got a good point there, and I'm going to leave it with this, because when I've attended a lot of other conventions, like a TAOM, where we've had, it seems like, just somebody's mother's AV system or something, and it crackles in and out, or the lights rapport or whatever. This really does seem, although you say it's not really a Broadway production, and of course it's not, it's a high school. It is phenomenal. I mean, the AV and everything is great.
You're very kind to say that. It just comes down to the fact that these guys care more than I can reasonably expect them to. And,
level of professionalism.
Total professionalism. And, when they miss a cue, they suffer right along with the act. And it's just total dedication. They want it to be right. And, if they didn't, managing them, I can't make that, that sort of spirit and attitude. They come to the table with it.
Right. Well, I know that you're going to be going over and starting to get some things ready here shortly with your crew, and then we're going to be going over to Abbott's Magic Company to get our registrations and start to get things going, because every day, if you go to Abbott's website and take a look at the schedule, it is packed hour after hour, and all kinds of things that are not necessarily all just happening for the registrants. There are things out there, street performers, as well as things that are happening just kind of in the general public as well.
Oh, 100%. Street performers, face painting, shows over at the factory. It's all going to be going on.
And everybody, of course, who are locals are having garage sales all over the place.
Well, that's right, too. I will say in the last 30 years, I don't think I've seen a single one of those garage sales because I'm stuck backstage.
You are.
But I hear they're fun, and I'm sure they are. I know Jay Marshall used to love garage sailing here and always went home with more crap than he came with.
Well, and there are also garage sales of magicians. There are a lot of magicians who are out in the streets who are selling stuff. They just set up little tents.
That's right.
You know, Anthony Gerard, I know, has come for years and years, and many others like that.
Yeah, no, that's right. So there's a real spirit here. You know, if you come to Abbott's and you don't have fun, you're just not trying.
Yeah, fun will happen.
It definitely will happen. And then, of course, it continues after the shows. Everybody gathers at the Legion, and, you know, there's card tricks and other things going on everywhere. And so it's just nonstop. It's really a lot of fun. And you know, look, there aren't many places that you can come and hang out with Lance Burton or Matt King and
rub shoulders like that.
Well, it's more than rub shoulders. I mean, last year I remember seeing Lance and the Legion teaching back palming to a number of people. Where are you going to get that? I mean, you know, these guys grew up here. They love it. I heard on your podcast, Matt King say that, you know, when he walked up to the front door of the house he was staying, he cried. I get that.
Yeah.
I totally get that. This place has a spirit that no other convention can duplicate. And, you know, these guys are here. Mac's coming from Las Vegas every year. Lance comes in his big bus, and that's a tourist attraction in its own, by the way. And they're here because they love this place. And
the Amish community kind of adds a different kind of a flavor with the culture.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And, you know, there are a couple of restaurants here. As you mentioned, no hotels. Sue and I have been staying with this family for 38 years. And, you know, this is our second home.
Yeah. Yes. Well, again, a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Continued good luck on the shows and everything. I know they're going to be great. And the best to you and the crew.
Appreciate that. And we'll do our best to make sure things go smoothly.
So with the Magic Word Podcast, that was Mark Holstein. Scotty out.
While I was at dinner, I had some great dining companions, and one of them was Gay Blackstone, who's here with me now. Hey, Gay.
Hi there. How you doing?
Fantastic. And I wanted you to recap the story you were talking about, because I had heard before where Harry Blackstone Sr. had originally gotten his name, but I want you to recount that and just kind of confirm the stories I've heard.
Well, what I understand to be, he was working under the name Frederick the Great, which we all know is because he was able to get posters for pennies on the dollar.
And this would have been around what year?
About
1914?
No, later than that. This was in 1918, beginning of 1919. And he got a call, or I guess it wouldn't be a call, he would have got a telegram from his agent saying, if you can come up with a different name on the performance wheel, then I can get you another 16 weeks immediately. Yeah. He was in Wapakoneta, Ohio, and he said, okay. So he and Inez and Pete were walking down the street, and he said, you know, you need a name that can be read, you know, like from a train going 40 miles an hour.
Okay.
And, you know, in this day and age we laugh, but that's what transportation was at that point. So he looked up, and there was a sign for Blackstone cigars. He said, like that. It was in blacks and yellows and with the blue, and everything was outlined.
Stylized.
A great
got your attention.
Yes, exactly. He said, that's it. I'm going to become Blackstone. So
Inez agreed with that.
Inez said, I like it. It's great. So in January of 1919, he became Blackstone, and he was Blackstone from that point on. And in the mid-20s, the government, because so many people had come from so many different places and were just changing their names, but to be able to make it all legal, they did a thing where, you know, you didn't have to do all this, didn't, you know, have to go to court, but you sent in a letter, and it said, this is my name, and this is what I'll be working under. And that became legal.
Your official name.
And that was your official name. So in 1925, he officially became Blackstone, so that when Junior then was born in 1934, there was no question to it. He was born as Harry Bouton Blackstone Jr.
On his birth certificate.
On his birth certificate. That's what it has.
So his middle name was really his last name, Bouton.
Bouton, yes.
So it's HBB. Okay,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Wait, was he junior then at that time? Or?
Yeah, he was actually done as junior at that point, because Harry Sr. had become Harry Bouton Blackstone.
Yeah.
And so therefore it was just one more on the realms.
I thought it was interesting also that you, briefly, you said you got a sign, also Blackstone cigars.
I found at Shipshawana in their auction many years ago, Mike Ellis, whom some of the people will remember, he was president of the IBM in, I think, 91, 92, something like that. But Mike was also really famous for a lot of other things.
Right.
But he went with me over to the auction, and I was bidding, and there was a guy somewhat bidding against me, and Mike kind of signaled to me and said, he's part of the house. So I said to the guy, I'm going to make one more bid. If you decide to outbid me, that's fine. I will not make any more. I made the one incremental bid, and that was it. There was no more bidding, and I got the sign, and to this day, it hangs in. It was hanging in the house in Redlands, and now since I've moved, it's one of the things still to find a proper home in my new condo.
And who was that you said that framed that for you? Put it on a little mahogany wood?
Howard Flint. Howard Flint.
Yeah.
Many people
love that guy.
Oh yeah, Howard. And Howard,
So
because
funny.
he was my car, I'll drive back. I have got a friend of mine who's great with framing, and I'll have it framed. Well, they really didn't frame it. Basically, all they did was put it on a very heavy piece of board. But
Which you had to carry around with you.
oh yeah, It's
Well, I think that's kind of funny that they probably recognize, there's a Blackstone person who's bidding on this sign, and she's going to bid it up. So let's keep going. So interesting
so that
story.
was it. So I paid a fair price for it. It wasn't a steal, but it wasn't also outrageous.
Yeah.
So that was it, and it had been outside for many years, and on the back of it there was some buckshot from
People shooting at the sign.
people shooting at the sign, all that sort of thing. But it's actually in very good
Well, I think it's
condition.
pretty cool because, again, I've heard that story about him, but I didn't know that was true. So I thought, I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. It can't be more genuine than coming from you.
That's as much as I know.
But,
So
there you go. Thank you very much. So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Gabe Blackstone.
Thank you.
Scotty out. As we were beginning to show you here the strains of the keyboard in the background by the national president of the Society of American Magicians, Mr. John Sirk. I don't want to interrupt him, but I am going to interrupt an official photographer, Mike Woodward, who's on the board of directors for the IBM. We are just dripping with talent and important people here tonight. And here's one. Again, Mike Woodward. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
How long have you been the official photographer?
I've been the official photographer since about 1980.
Okay, and you do video as well, or just still photos, or both?
We do video.
Okay.
My son is here beside me and does a lot of still photos, so from early 2000s till now we've got a lot of still photos.
So
as
what
well.
happens with all of the video you...
So the video, a lot of the videos, at one point when home video camera and equipment first became available, there were several people sitting out here just videotaping acts, and then the acts didn't like that, so Abbott's decided to have one video. It's official. We don't make copies. They weren't going to sell them, but if any of the acts wanted to see their act after the show, they could always do that. Occasionally something funny happened. Somebody wanted a copy of that, what happened that night. We would make it for them. And otherwise, they are all just kind of in an archive.
That's why I was wondering, who has the archive? Are they at Abbott's, or do you hold them? Or?
I have, so part of them are at Abbott's, part of them I hold. I actually have copies. I used to make Greg copies every year. Now nobody has DVD players. It's all digital unless we stick them on hard drives. So we haven't really figured out how to handle that yet, but I'm doing duplicate backups on all of them, so there is an official archive.
That leads to my next question, because at the TAOM, Texas Association of Magicians, we've had a similar kind of an issue where we have had videos have been taken, since the 70s then as well, and we've got some old, even some film before there was Super 8, where there was not even sound in it and everything, and the expense of trying to get this to be transferred is expensive.
Yeah.
And so technology changes all the time. So I would think that you would be anxious to try to get as much as you can, as whatever the current technology is, in trying to be on that leading edge.
Yeah, so the device I use now, I've got a VHS recorder. I'm still transferring all these old 80s, 90s, and up until we went to 8mm, and then I'll do those, and then I'll do the high 8s and the digital 8s as well. A device that either your red, white, and yellow cord go into, or your SVHS. It's got a small TV screen on it, and you put an SD card in it, and then you just run the video, and it records it. Yeah. Then you can stick that in your computer and do any type of editing, store it where you want, make copies and everything. So that's what I'm doing currently.
As far as the archives go, and then I'll let you go, are we able to, or people who are listening to this who can't attend this or past conventions, do they have access to that, or they contact you?
We do not at this time. A lot of the acts, there were people that allowed me to videotape them in the 80s and the 90s only because we said we would never make any copies of it. It would never be sold or distributed.
Right.
So in honoring those verbal agreements from years ago. That's kind of the plan. But, 100 years from now, there's an archive somebody will find and go, hey, I've heard this name, and then, I don't know what will happen to it in the future. At some point, it's there. It's just we're not, at least in.
Okay. Well, I wanted to put that to bed because I know people will be saying they'll be writing me emails.
Would love it, but we just can't do it. I don't have the time to do it all.
Right. Well, and I understand contractually, some people are more skittish than others as far as letting that out. Proprietary.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you very much.
Right,
Appreciate it. Thanks for all you do, my friend.
All right.
For the Magic Word Podcast, as Mike Woodward, Scotty out.